All right, in this video, I wanted to cover my top 10 sneaker flops of 2022. And this is a fun list to make, but it's also one that definitely pushes lots of buttons and stuff. So I'm sure I'm going to get those comments already that says, you know, it's sad that sneaker culture's come to this where we're just judging sneakers by the resale value and not what we like and so on. I totally get that as well. If you saw my top 10 actual pickups from this year, you'll see some of them are just super not hyped up at all. Just my personal pickups that I really enjoyed through the year. But it is what it is. You know, everybody has some input, and I wanted to include some of your guys's from Twitter. And so thanks to everybody on Twitter for leaving some feedback and let me know some of the flops that happened this year. Obviously, this was a really weird year because of the economic decline in the collector's markets in general. Like, this is a market that got hit pretty hard. There's a lot of stuff that was like pretty well received originally when it released and then dipped major like in prices. So I wanted to kind of consider some of that, but I have kind of a top 10 list. If you guys agree or disagree, of course, leave a comment in the comment section. If you have other suggestions for things that actually flopped this year that I totally missed, leave a comment again. Definitely let other people know what you guys think, because there's lots and lots of pairs of sneakers that totally flopped this year. And this is just a list of 10 that I kind of created. A couple runner-ups that I'll get into. But starting off in the number 10 spot, we have Nike Off-White collaborations. There's a couple of them that didn't do so well. There is the Nike Air Force One Mid. Now it's obviously Air Force One Mid. And Off-White collaboration still couldn't really save it. It's something that was not very well received. We also did get a Blazer Low collaboration that was not very well received either. It had kind of a funky look to it, and it's like almost cool, but then they do something that's a little bit too outside the box, and it just doesn't hit the masses box because of it when they do that, which is the overall intent and purpose of what they're creating. But even that, there's the niche collectors out there that are like, I can't really pull some of these things off either. And I think because of that, this one is a strong contender for one of the worst flops. And then there's the hiking boot version of the Off-White collaboration with Nike, which has an original design, but unfortunately it just was not something that I think people are feeling. Moving on to the number 9 spot, we have the Acronym Blazers. And I think that the overall look of these actually look pretty cool. And I love the concept of them, how you can have a 3D printed heel clip on the back and just really create your own element to the shoe. I think that that is really awesome, but it's not as easy to be able to create something as it might look. In fact, I had somebody looking into it that does 3D printing, and it was like too difficult for them to figure out how to actually create it, which is unfortunate because I wanted to create my own specialized 3D heel clip on the back. Conceptually though, I like the idea that you can 3D print something and add it to a shoe, but unfortunately these ones fell a little bit flat, and the resale market is much, much lower than what the retail price is. Next up, we have the Ambush collaborations. Now, this one is a bummer because honestly, I like the Adjust Force. I think it looks like a cool model and stuff, but the price point of the Adjust Force was just a little bit too high. And then also you did get some colors of some Air Force Ones as well that dropped that I thought looked pretty good as well. With the extended Nike swoosh on the back. But for anybody that's had the dunks of those, when they extend the plastic through the back, it honestly ends up getting twisted and just like bent a little bit. So it's just, overall it looks really cool, but you have to be really careful wearing the actual product. I think the Adjust Force was the biggest flop though, unfortunately. I bought the blue pair, did a review on them. I just wish that they would have came with some extra straps on the shoes so you can actually mix and match a little bit, which is kind of the intent of the shoes from back in the day. I really like what Ambush does with Nike though, and even though it's not an overall mainstream success, I think that what they offer is pretty cool looking. Another one that pains me to put on this list, but you guys call it out, and rightfully so on Twitter, and that is the Social Status Penny collaborations. The Penny 1 and the 2, overall fairly unsuccessful releases. It was like one of the first Social Status Nike collaborations that actually ended up sitting after the original releases, which is unfortunate, but I also understand that this is a Nike Penny 1 and a Nike Penny 2. It's not like the one that everybody's gonna go crazy over. It's just not that hyped up of a sneaker model, but I love the fact that they had a collab energy behind it. They made a really cool story behind it, and the videos that they created for the Social Status Penny collabs were super dope. I think that the black colorways of the 1s and the 2s were too close to like the OGs, so I feel like that muddied the water a little bit. If you really wanted to get the OG version, you'd probably just buy the OG version, but again, they looked so close together, like I feel like it probably either confused consumers out there that are just new to the model, but also put like a dilemma against those people that really like the model, because then they'd have to buy a couple of the ones that look very, very similar. All right, number 6 on the list, we have the Air Jordan 1 Retro High OG, and it's kind of funny to think this because 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the Air Jordan 1 Retro High OG was kind of the safe bet. Like, it didn't matter which colorway came out, as long as it was the high top version, you know it was going to be pretty successful. The mids were mediocre success, and the lows, unless it was like an OG, like it really didn't do super high numbers or anything like that. I mean, it did volume, but not high resale dollars and stuff like that. So I think that historically speaking, again, the retro high OGs were more coveted, and then more like the fact that it was like the high top version, that it was like the cool factor. Because you guys already remember, like everybody was crapping on the mids when the band mids came out, and it was like, aha, look at you, you got the mid tops. But now the high OGs, like they released so many different colorways, and then the perfect storm with the economy and everything else, and then you have the heritage sitting in a full size run. You have the Brotherhood colorway that quote unquote sold out, and then all of a sudden shows up in a full size run again. And I feel like that helped contribute to the demise of the Air Jordan 1 in general, and most of the stock of the Air Jordan retros is the fact you have this artificial Nike sneakers release that says that they sold out, and then they have a restock that has a full size run, and then another restock and another restock of full size runs of the same product. So they're really gamifying the consumers out there by letting us think that things sold out, but really have full size runs and they're just sitting on stock and just time releasing it. I feel like that strategy from Nike and Jordan Brand needs to change. I feel like they need to be a little bit more clear to the consumers out there of like stock runs and stuff like that. Of course, Nike's never going to do that because they like the luster and the fact of like things selling out. But this is a case where it backfired, and then they've been sitting in full size runs for the most part. Now, over long periods of time, they were going down 20% even in retail prices, and I think that was a nice little thing to see. You'll see them at outlets and so on as well. But there's been a lot of sales of Air Jordan 1 Retro High OGs, but the resale prices have dipped significantly on those, and I think that it is a positive and a good thing. And I want to just point this out in mid-video. Just because the resale value of a pair of sneakers is not high does not mean it's not a valuable pair of sneakers. Obviously, if you like the shoes, you like the shoes. It doesn't matter if the resale is lower than retail or whatever it might be. Also, today's GRs are tomorrow's grails a lot of times. So like keep that in mind. Like 10 years from now, Heritage ones are going to be up double retail. I bet you anything. Maybe even more than that. It's just the way that sneaker releases goes. And I've been through the sneaker market going up and down through the years, and we've seen it bottom out really, really low. And we've seen some of the same products just go sky high and be worth like double, triple retail. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You shouldn't really be buying it just for the intent of having it go up in value unless you're trying to invest. And this is not an investing channel by any means. So ultimately buy what you like, and if you can get it on sale, and right now like under retail is even better, and the fact that you can get stuff for a decent price I think is something that's important. In fact, some of the things on my list I'm actually just actively looking at, trying to determine should I buy something now or not, because the prices are so low. Anyway, moving on to the number 5 spot, we have the Union collaborations, and I decided to include all of them in this mix because you have obviously the Cortezes that didn't do so well in the resale market. I got one pair of them. I think it's a nice looking collab. Overall, the Nike Cortez is not the one that's going to get a lot of hype. And having a Union collaboration on that's proving that it's just not going to make it super hype. Now, Air Jordan collaborations did really well. Obviously, the ones being the pinnacle of that. The Air Jordan 4 collaboration did okay, but the Air Jordan 2 collaboration is lukewarm at best. Honestly, it's the Air Jordan 2, so we get that. But it's definitely one of the ones that dropped significantly in value. You also do have another one that dropped quite a bit, and that's the Union Dunks. Even though this was like a top 10 contender for some lists out there, the Union Dunks like just really dropped in price quite a bit. So I feel like the formula from Nike was, cool, you made some collabs with us, now here are some other models that we want you to collaborate with us on and make cool. Like here's a Cortez. Here is a Nike Dunk, which has been up and then has been declining in 2022. And then here's an Air Jordan 2, the Air Jordan that we're really trying to push this year. Make magic. And unfortunately, some models, no matter what collaborator you have with it, it's not going to do super good. So speaking of that, number 4 spot, we have the Air Jordan 2 J Balvin collaboration. Now this one I was actually really excited to see in hand. I never got them in hand. You know why? Because the retail price is $300 on these shoes. In fact, you can get them under retail right now. We saw last week, I think it was, that J Balvin actually released the Air Jordan 2s on his website, like a personal website that you could buy, and then you get a mystery like surprise as well with the purchase. But I'm like, $300, look at current prices on the market, it's like $200. Is that mystery surprise worth like $100? Probably not, so I didn't end up buying them. Any which way, I feel like the price point was a huge miss on this one, considering the upper of the shoe doesn't look like it's any high quality materials on it. But what you do get is technology though, because on these Air Jordan 2s, they actually have like a light up tongue, I guess. Ultimately though, $300 is a little bit too much. And I think the Air Jordan 2 models is just one of the ones that is mostly hated, not loved, unfortunately. And you know, we saw Don C release a bunch of high quality Air Jordan 2s back in the day, $650 I think it was, or $550 for that box collab with the hat. They had some really nice solid colorways and solid materials released on those. And unfortunately, again, the price points again were really, really high. So it doesn't matter if you have elevated materials, if the costs are too high, it's going to turn off some consumers considering the product is still an Air Jordan 2, unfortunately. Moving on to number 3 spot, we have one that I like, one that I bought for my entire family, but it's one that everybody hates. It's the Air Jordan 5 DJ Khaled, We the Best collaboration. A nice looking collaboration in my opinion, and we saw a lot of different colorways that DJ Khaled like introduced us to, like 4 or 5 different colorways that he had in this huge, massive, crazy box set. Only 2 of them ended up releasing, one US and I think one UK. I don't know if they're going to release the rest of them unless some of them are friends and family or what the deal is, like the tiering of all of those. But at the end of the day, there was so many pairs that dropped on Nike. I got 1 pair from Nike sneakers, but I also tried on a couple different accounts, and some of them I got hit with the sold out sign, and then all of a sudden, like, you waited and then they were available in full size runs. I hate how Nike does that, how it says that you missed out on a product even though there's a full size run sitting. It just shows you how, like, again, the gamification of the way sneakers works is just not in our favor most of the time, even if you want to buy the shoe and even if they have it in stock. But after they ended up dropping, I got myself and my kids a pair of them. And I like the colorway. Again, it's just not everybody's favorite. And I personally just don't love the term We the Best. I think it's just too arrogant. But I'm glad it was a pretty easy cop and you can get them right around retail right now. So if you're interested in getting them, you can just go to eBay or something like that and scoop up a pair. Number 2 spot on the flop list goes to the Nikecraft GPS, the general purpose shoe from Tom Sachs. Now this is on the list only because it really is kind of a flop based on the original resale of the first colorway that dropped, and then they ended up doing a couple different rounds of releases and have 2 colorways. They have more coming, but they ended up going from like $400, $500, $600 range now to like under $200. And I think that is a good thing, especially for those people that want the shoe. It's one that actually is very, very wearable. It's a very functional shoe. I love what they did with it. Honestly, I wore my pair for over a month just trying to beat it up and just see how comfortable it was. It's not a like comfort shoe by any means. It is a very firm, thick rubber midsole in the bottom of the shoe and very firm underfoot, but honestly, it feels really good. It's a pair that once you get in hand and try them on, like you could see that they're actually built quite well. So I really like what they did there. However, the hype on the shoes, everybody was thinking like the new version of the Mars Yard, which is like, you know, $6,000 in the resale market or something like that. This is just a very, very functional shoe that they ended up releasing. And joke was on the people that were really just trying to buy it for the crazy resale prices. So I feel like with more colorways actually going to be coming of the shoe in 2023, the prices are going to be just sitting at retail. In fact, maybe the shoe is actually even going to sit at retailers instead of even selling out, which I don't think would be a bad thing. I think it would actually be pretty awesome to see. But it was a pretty big flop just from the overall initial wave that it had to what it ended up becoming at the end of the year. If you guys are enjoying this video, please drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notification bell to be notified of when my videos are posted. And now I'm going to cover some of the runner-ups before my number 1 spot. We have the Nike Dunks in general. There's like the Nike Clot release. There's the Fruity Pebble Dunk Lows. There's the Bart Simpson Dunk Lows, which is still on my hit list. There's the eBay Sandy Bodecker Dunk Lows, which is also still on my hit list. But there's a whole bunch of Nike Dunks that really didn't do very much with the resale market. In fact, everything's sitting very, very close to retail. In fact, a lot of the collaborations from the Nike Dunk side of things, even if it's a low or a high top, the high tops do traditionally a little bit worse. The low tops though do a little bit better, and they've been doing pretty bad on the resale market, which means it's a great opportunity to snipe a pair if you're looking before prices potentially go up in years to come. Any which way, the Nike Dunk Low had a pretty big hit, as well as the Air Jordan 1 in 2022. Also, did you guys know we had a retro of the Nike Air Max 97 Silver Bullets? It retroed. It came and it went. It was like kind of crazy to see. It was sitting in full size runs for a while. Definitely kind of a sleeper, but one that is easily attainable if you're trying to get a pair of those. Pretty crazy that it ended up happening. We have the New Balance 550s. A lot of people mentioned the hype definitely died on the 550s. I would agree. The hype was there on the 550s, mostly because it was an affordable New Balance. It was a $100 shoe or $110 shoe, and New Balance released a ton of different colorways of the 550s, so they were selling out very consistently, and then now some sizes are actually available in the 550s. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing for those people that actually want to get a pair of them. It's definitely one that has a kind of like a Nike Dunk, sort of Nike Air Force One vibe to it, but there's so many models that New Balance is creating right now that honestly, having one that's available and it's saturated a little bit and easier to actually buy is a good thing for them, because then they can make more money off of something instead of having just limited supply runs of something. And then also another one that you guys mentioned, the Adidas Ryats. This is the Frail Human Race joints, the boots. And I actually really like these, but honestly, they haven't had a lot of releases of the shoe, as well as the new version of the NMDs. In fact, they released a couple of them and they're sitting on Adidas website for those that are looking to scoop a pair. But that kind of covers some of my runner-ups. Leave a comment in the comment section, other runner-ups or other ones on the list that you guys wanted to see. Number one spot though goes to the Travis Scott Nike Air Max 1, and the worst of the worst, I guess, is the Nike Air Max trainers, Travis Scott collaboration. The trainers did really, really bad. Like, it's like the Travis Scott shoe that really is very easily obtainable if you're trying to get a pair of them. I don't know if it's because during the whole Astro World thing, a lot of things got delayed because of obviously the tragedies that ended up happening. So there might be a trickle-down effect from that and the stigma maybe associated to it. Ultimately, the trainers looked a little bit weird with the little cover over top of it. The colorways weren't very good, to be honest, and the materials were pretty subpar as well. The Air Max 1s I've always actually wanted. I still actually want to get a pair of them. And prices are like $200, $300, $400 range depending on the size. And I feel like those prices will go up long term, 4 or 5 years. They'll probably go up quite a bit. But it's one of those models where it's just like a little bit funky looking. It's like a reimagination of an Air Max 1. I've actually never had them in hand to compare them to a regular Air Max 1, but it is definitely an interesting looking model with the reverse swoosh and everything else. Any which way, it's a pair that I want to get, but I haven't got yet, and definitely one that didn't do so well in the resale market, or at least it went up and then it went down. The trainers really never caught a wave, and unfortunately, if you invested heavily in the trainers, you're probably stuck with a couple bags because they're just not moving for good prices, at least for now again. Anyways, as I mentioned, a lot of the stuff in the countdown is subject to change years in the future. You just really never know what the sneaker market's going to hold. At the end of the day, buy what you like, buy what you can afford, and don't worry about the prices. Just have fun with it as much as you can. And hopefully some of you guys out there will still be enjoying the hobby then. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you guys did, drop a like, and I appreciate you all for stopping by and watching. If you guys want to check out some of my other videos, feel free to do so at this time. But thank you again for watching. Hopefully we'll see you back for some more sneaker content soon. All right, peace guys.